Hi, I'm Shoestring Jane. Welcome back to my channel where I talk about all things thrifty, frugal and money saving. And today I thought I would do some more extreme frugality tips, as I've done a couple of videos like this before and they always seem to go down really well, especially at the moment when people are really looking to shave any extra expenses that they possibly can from their budget. So the first unofficial tip is steal t-shirts from your partner's wardrobe. I've stolen this one, he never wears it. So, it's mine now. So that's my unofficial first tip. But getting back to the video, and my first one is quite controversial. It's something I haven't done, but I have very seriously considered doing it, especially in that first part of lockdown where people were just going mental because they didn't have supplies of certain things. And one of the things they didn't have supplies of and couldn't get hold of and were having punch-ups in the supermarket about was toilet roll. So my first one would be, how about using family cloth, they call it, and it's basically going back to the old days where you wouldn't have had toilet paper on a roll. You would have used any paper first, but before that you would have used cloth, and we've gone back to reusable pretty much everything. I mean, women use reusable sanitary pads now and nobody really thinks about that. So you could consider family cloth. When mine were little, I used terry toweling nappies some of the time, and it was only as disgusting as that. You literally just scraped off any nasties, and I used to stick the terry toweling nappies in a bin that I left in the bathroom, which had disinfectant powder in it. And then I would wash them. When I had enough of them, I would wash them. So you could do the same thing with family cloth. I mean, I keep bits of stuff in like this in the kitchen anyway, and I use this instead of kitchen roll, and I just collect up. I've got some bamboo reusable kitchen roll that I've just washed and washed and washed, and I've got just bits of old terry toweling that has been cut into squares, and I use that instead of kitchen roll. So this would be a stage further. So that's one thing you could consider. We are talking extreme frugality. These aren't necessarily things that I always do, but if we had, I had a subscription at the time for toilet paper. It's worked out a bit expensive for me now, so I've had to cut it out. But we had a subscription. I was very, very grateful. We knew we were going to get our loo roll every 3 months or so and then stick it all under the bed. So it was very useful. But if we hadn't had that, family cloth would have been the way to go for me there. So my second tip is to ditch things like deodorant and toothpaste and make your own out of bicarbonate of soda. You can either use it as it is. I use bicarbonate of soda in smelly shoes and trainers, and it's quite good. Just leave it overnight and then hoover it out. You can actually dip your toothbrush into the bicarb of soda and just do it. I think that's probably a bit harsh for me. You can mix it with coconut oil and maybe some mint and make your own toothpaste. And you can also use it straight under your armpits. I've done that before. And I found it actually was, again, it was a little harsh on the skin. So I think it's because it was a bit gritty. So again, mixing it with a bit of coconut oil first, and that would do just as well. And there are lots of recipes on the internet, so you can make your own deodorants and toothpaste and just ditch the commercial ones. So for extreme frugal inspiration, I would say read this book. It's The Moneyless Man by Mark Boyle. And it's quite old now. I think it's from about 2008 or 9. And I bought it quite a long time ago. I can't remember exactly when, but shortly after it had been published. And I'm reading it again for frugal inspiration. And it's about this guy who's a freakonomist. So he's into living free, sharing, trying to limit our impact on the environment as well. And he says money is at the root of all evil, and he set himself a challenge to live a whole year completely with no money. And it's such an interesting story. It's so fascinating what he did, and it just shows, we may not all be this dedicated, but it just shows what you can do if you have a will. So I would urge you to see if you can get this from your library so it doesn't cost you any money, or you might be able to pick it up secondhand. But buying The Moneyless Man and reading this by Mark Boyle will really inspire you and set you on your way for extreme frugality. Number 4 on my list is to brew your own beer and wine. I've never actually made beer from scratch, but I have made wine. I used to make it quite regularly at one point when we had lots of gooseberries in the garden, and it made a gorgeous wine, pink gooseberry wine. It really was delicious. So in my next house, I'm going to plant up some pink gooseberry bushes to make my own wine. I've also successfully made raspberry wine. It was delicious, again, from what we've grown in the garden. But you do have to be careful about the odd explosion. We did have an explosion of gooseberry wine all over the garage, and it took an age to clear up. But that was probably me. I wasn't checking it. But you do have to get the equipment, and you can quite often get that from Freecycle or Frugal. In fact, when I'd finished winemaking, I decided I wasn't going to make it anymore. That's where I gave my equipment. So if I start again, that's where I'll be looking for this stuff in order to make wine, and you don't need a lot. It's cheaper and it's healthier as long as it doesn't explode too much. Another extreme frugality tip that I have included in other videos would be to buy all your clothing second-hand. But going beyond that for this video, think about upcycling old clothing. So I have a subscriber, she's actually a member of my Facebook group, My Second-Hand of Frugal Life. Her name is Diane, Dianne, and she has her own YouTube channel showing how she thrifts clothing, and then she creates completely different garments with them or upcycles them into something else completely, and she does really nice clear videos on how she does that. So that's quite inspiring. Go and check Diane out. I will leave the link to her channel in the description below. And another one who is huge, I don't know how you pronounce this, I think it's Coolirpa, but it's Coolirpa, and she is a woman who makes amazing creations out of thrifted finds and really is very inspiring. So go and check those two out. There are others on the internet as well, and if you have good sewing skills, this is a way of saving loads of money. You can get completely unique garments from thrifted items, so nobody else will have the same, and they will look amazing. So number 7 on my list, again, this has been inspired by some of the members of my Facebook group. Quite often they'll pick up yellow stickered items, reduced items, things at the end of their use by date, and one of the things they seem to quite often pick up is cream. And if you pick up cream and can't use it all straight away, you can make it into butter. It's a very simple process, and again, there are lots of recipes. I will link one to BBC Good Food below, which doesn't use any equipment except a jam jar, so that looks quite good. So you could consider making your own butter from cream that would otherwise go in the bin. Number 7 is, if you have candelabra type lighting in your house, which we do in several places, then consider just leaving those off for now while energy prices are so expensive, and just get a lamp, a single lamp. We've been doing that. We could have 6 bulbs on in this room in the evening. If we turn one light switch on, we don't have that element of control. So rather than burning 6 light bulbs, we've been having one plug-in lamp and burning 1 light bulb. So that's another thing you can do. If you have those candelabra type lights, then, I mean, obviously it'd be great to replace them to have single light bulbs again, but if you don't want to do that or can't do that, it's an expense involved there, then just have a single lamp instead. Number 8 is around pet ownership. As you will know, if you watch my channel regularly, I absolutely love my pets. I have 2 cats and a dog, but they're not cheap. They're not extremely frugal by any stretch of the imagination. They are what I choose to spend my money on, and I will go without other things in order to have pets because that's what I want to do. However, it may be that you really cannot afford a dog, or maybe you don't have the time for one. So this is inspired by my youngest daughter. She signed up with an organisation called Borrow My Doggy, and she looks after somebody else's dog. She's not in a position to have a dog. She can't afford one. She's in a shared house. She's not allowed one. But she does some neighbours a favour because they happened to be on this website. She's literally around the corner from them. And she often, every week, she'll have the dog, and she often has her overnight, or she goes to their house and looks after the dog, and she takes her for walks, and she does the things that she can't do because she can't have her own dog. So you could sign up with borrowmydoggy.com. And the other thing that you could do is check out the Cinnamon Trust. They are often looking, and they're often actually desperate in some areas, for dog walkers to look after dogs where their owners perhaps are housebound, they tend to be elderly, or perhaps they've gone into hospital and they need someone to look after the dog. So you could consider looking at the Cinnamon Trust as well. You don't have to have your own dog, you can borrow a dog. The next thing on my list is probably obvious to some people, but I literally have only thought about it in the last few months since energy prices have got so high, and that is to turn my hot water off to once a day. I mean, I do need, a shower once a day, so it's nice to have some hot water. And I could, I suppose, if I was organised, have it off completely and just put it on half an hour before I want a shower or before I think I want to use hot water. But I know that I probably won't be organised enough to do that. But I have reduced it to just the morning. And that's when I'm tending to have my shower. I don't have a lodger here at the moment, so I don't really need it on in the afternoon. And if I do, I can just put it on for 15 minutes. If I know I've got a big pile of washing up that needs to be done, and that kind of thing, I can just put it on the afternoon. So you could just consider having your hot water on just once a day, or turning it off and just heating it as you need it. And number 10 on my list, I've definitely included this in a previous video, but I don't think it was the last one about extreme frugality. And that is to never let your bills auto-renew. Never ever tick the box to auto-renew your insurances or your broadband or your phone contract or anything like that. Never auto-renew. They should always send you a reminder anyway, but always make sure that a good month in advance you're looking for a new deal, because you'll probably find a cheaper one, apart from everything except energy. Obviously that's a bit of a moot point at the moment, but anything else, don't allow it to auto renew. It will inevitably go up and you will just have extra to shell out when you could have controlled it and got a better deal. Another thing you could do if you're looking at extreme ways of saving money would be to ditch your car altogether and look at schemes where you can perhaps car share, or you can book a car just for certain days when you need it, or you could sign up for liftshare.com or carshare.com. I think they're both still going, and when you have a particular journey to do, you can see if somebody else is going that way. That tends to work better with longer journeys. But there are car sharing clubs now. You don't have to have your own car and pay for everything yourself. So you're paying for all of the insurance for the whole year, you're paying for all of your tax for the whole year, and you're paying for a tank full of petrol all the time, when actually perhaps you only need to do that occasionally. This obviously doesn't work if you have a big family and it would be really expensive to use public transport to take everybody everywhere. So a car might be a cheaper option. Obviously it's very frustrating that certainly in the UK public transport is more expensive than getting in a car, which means that those of us who really want to try and be a bit greener end up spending more money if we want to do that. But that's another story. It's another thing you could do though. You could consider ditching your car altogether. Number 12 on my list is to make a rocket stove out of old cans or old bricks, or old breeze blocks you can use as well, I believe. Now this is definitely something I want to do this summer at some point, is to make my own rocket stove, and then you can use waste wood and you can cook outside. So that would save a lot of gas and electricity for cooking, wouldn't it? And there are lots of videos about this on YouTube. I will link one of the ones I've been looking at, which makes a rocket stove from tin cans. I'll link that below. But you could consider doing that. Save yourself some money, just burn waste wood. No fossil fuel involved. And my next tip is around something called a wonder bag. So another way of saving money on your cooking is to use a wonder bag. It's a really super insulated, quite a large bag. It does cost money to buy, about £65 I think they are at this point in time, but you will save money in the long term and it's more eco-friendly. What you do is you bring your big pan of whatever you're cooking, your stew, your casserole, to the boil, so it's really hot. Then you turn it off, you wrap it in the wonder bag and it slow cooks. So it's a really, really clever little thing, and it will save you money long term. And the next one on my list is, rather than going to buy your tea from the supermarket, how about growing and making your own tea from the garden? So we always think we have to have Indian tea. Perhaps we could look at mint tea or chamomile tea or whatever kind of tea you like. You can make tea out of loads of different plants. So you could look that up on the internet again, or you could have a look in a book like Food for Free by Richard Mabey, which will tell you lots of things that can be made into tea. And you can make yourself a refreshing brew that hasn't had to travel miles and miles to get to you, and you can just grow it in your own garden for free. I think we're up to number 15, and number 15 is to make your own milk from oats. Oats are quite cheap, especially if you buy them somewhere like Lidl or Aldi, and it's very simple to make your own oat milk. So less packaging as well, of course. So that's what you could do, make your own oat milk to save a bit of money. Number 16 on my list of extreme frugality is to go car camping. Now, somebody who does this, and this person gave me the idea is Mean Queen Ilona. So Ilona has a blog called Life After Money, but she also has a YouTube channel, and you can see how she goes off on various trips around the place, and she camps in her car, so she gets completely free accommodation. She has it set up really comfortably. It's an estate car. She has a nice comfortable looking bed in the back. I don't know if I would do that as a lone female traveller, but she's not had any problems. She just parks up somewhere, keeps out of people's way, and enjoys her holiday. So that's something else you could do, go car camping. And the next frugal thing on my list is to learn to repair clothing and darn socks. Just do little repairs on little holes in your clothing. They'll last a lot longer. Darn your socks. You can make them really reinforce the bits that tend to go and make them last an awful lot longer. This is really good if you have expensive socks as well. If you buy the really, really cheap rubbish ones, they're not going to last 5 minutes, whatever you do to them. But if you buy a decent pair of socks, then it's worth darning them, isn't it? And they'll last you a long time. Learn to darn, learn to repair your clothing. Number 18 on my list will be to sign up for a mystery shopping site if you enjoy having meals out but can't really afford them. So a lot of mystery shopping sites will deal with restaurants, and you usually have to pay for your meal in advance, and then you get the money, you can claim it back later, but you do have to do quite a detailed review to tell them what you thought of the service, what you thought of the quality of the food, and that kind of thing. So you do have to do a little bit of work for the money, but you get a free or almost free meal out. Sometimes they will only give you a meal and maybe a drink, and if you want a dessert you'll have to pay for it yourself, but the deals vary. So sign up. There are loads of different mystery shopping sites. I'm not going to recommend any in particular, but if you do a Google search you'll easily find a lot. Sign up with a few and see what you get coming your way, and you can have some free meals out maybe. And the next on my list is for those of you who don't have a shower, who only have a bath, or who really just enjoy a bath. Obviously it uses quite a lot more water than when you have a shower, but what you could do is leave the bath water in your bath to go cold and use it the next day to water your plants, so you've got double bubble out of it. You can do this when you have a shower, of course, but it's harder to collect the water. I have tried doing it standing in a washing up bowl and trying to collect some water, but you won't collect as much. So you could do it though. You can try it either way and then use it to water your plants and save yourself a bit of money that way. And number 20 on my list is to share your accommodation when you can and bring your bills down and bring your rent down. And that might mean that you rent out a room if you have a spare room. We've done that for many years. It might mean that you take in foreign students sometimes, and so you don't have them there all the time, and that might mean you give up your bed, you give them your bedroom and you sleep on the sofa. And it might mean that you just take in people from time to time doing Airbnb, so again you would need a spare room for that. So use your accommodation, make a little bit of extra money out of it, reduce all of your bills, and just save yourself some money doing that. So that's all on my list for this time. That was 20, I think, if I've counted correctly. I will keep trying to think of new interesting ways to save a bit of money, but they might mean that they get a little bit more extreme as we go, but then I'm heading them extreme frugality. So do share yours in the comment section below, and go over to see my other 2 videos on this subject. I will link them in the description box. I've got a lot of links to go in the description box, so check them out, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.